Plants, the green frontier. These are the discussions of the podcast Horticult. Its continuing mission to explore strange new cultivars, to find new plants and plant them, to garden like no one has before. Hey everybody, thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. This is number 58, Dwarf Evergreen Trees. We're an article in the Savvy Gardener. We found their blog and went through it, and they came up with some pretty good varieties. We talk about how to use them in your yard, maybe things to think about while buying them, really research a little bit more and find out about their watering habits, their soil preferences, their pH, sun exposure, all those things, low temperature where they can stand. And we just go over these dwarf evergreens and why you would like to use evergreens, why you'd like to use dwarf evergreens. With that, let's get it on. So this is Blaine.
And this is B-Rad.
And we are the Horticult. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Today's episode, we're going to go over a lovely article from Savvy Gardener, Dwarf Evergreen Trees. So they have 15 that they go over and specifically talk about. First, start their article and say stuff about why you want to plant a small evergreen tree.
Wait, I know one reason.
What is it?
You have a small space, a small garden space.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a huge one, because that would be me. That's my yard.
Well, and me too.
If I wanted a spruce and all they had was Norway spruce, Colorado blue spruce, I could plant one tree in my yard because that thing is going to take up the whole thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
In 10 years at least, you know.
Yeah.
60 by 60.
So then, yeah, and some people are like, one tree, good enough.
Yep. Well, not me.
I want 10.
I want a bunch of trees. Yeah. I was just actually thinking about that today. I was like, okay, I got my cedar out front, and I got my Norway weeping spruce from my living Christmas tree that I planted.
Oh, yeah.
So now I just need a pine, and then I need a fir, and then I need, I got all these that I want to get. So
what about a pseudotsuga?
Pseudotsuga? A Douglas fir?
Yeah. You could put maybe one.
Yeah, I like Douglas firs. But if they had a dwarf.
Yeah.
But that's how it is. If you get a dwarf, you can get all those varieties in a very small space. Yes. And I think that's kind of just how the market is shifting. People are more willing to buy many little small trees. It's economical, smart, if you think about it. The breeders, by breeding these small cultivars, then they can sell more plants. They got us. They got me anyway.
Well, and I know that it's kind of cool to plant like a miniature garden. I remember from Sun River Gardens picking up a few very small, in small pots, but very small evergreens and like little boxwoods. And having the kids plant those in the backyard. And you can just kind of manicure those to keep their size down. They're small anyway, but to keep their size down. And it's fun to have these little, that would be like a little garden gnome, kind of miniature garden setting. And we have this little tiny ceramic kind of cabin-y type thing that's right next to the little miniature plantings. Anyway, it makes it kind of cool. That's my experience with miniatures. So, yeah.
So here they just go over a couple of little things. So they say pruning is not necessary for these guys to maintain their structure.
No.
Which is, that's kind of true with most evergreens. Unless you're doing like a bonsai, you don't need to prune it. That's one of the benefits of having them.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. And then it goes into color and texture. They are there all year round, which is a good, and I think it can be kind of a blah. Because like with deciduous trees, how they kind of right now we're in a total blah thing. So my evergreens are the stars right now in the winter. But in the spring, they go into the background a little bit, and people want flowers, people want color, bright colors, so they kind of get washed out a little bit. But to have evergreens, it gives you that maintained kind of interest,
living like this, like things are still alive, right?
Right. Yeah. Where the other way, it kind of goes up and goes down in like interest level. So in the spring, everyone's excited. Things are blooming, things are moving. And then summer, the flowers are all gone, but you got leaves. It's pretty and green. And then they all fall, which is cool. They all change again. And now evergreens are there.
Beauty of 4 seasons, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I like.
Love it.
It's pretty cool. Let's see. They don't grow too large, which we talked about. You don't have to deal with large roots, which can be a problem. That's a pretty big problem.
Yeah, like buckling concrete or whatever. Yeah.
Let's see. They go into different birds. Many different birds like them with the cones and stuff. So that's a good one. I love birds. I just put out a new little, we call it Livestream Wednesday on the Facebook group. And I was talking about my birds and bully birds, how to get rid of bully birds and stuff. So. Yeah.
Do you use a slingshot for the bully birds, or what do you?
No, it depends on the kind of breed. You have to check it out. No, it's I was talking about. There was actually another article I was referring to, but if it's one species that likes a certain kind of food, you can have 2 separate feedings. Mm-hmm. So you have like what they want away from where you want to view your songbirds. So the songbirds are kind of left alone because you have a bunch of. That's one. Another one, if they're bigger birds, there's some little feeders that if they step on it, the weight will actually close off the food. But if they're lighter, like little songbirds, it's not going to close the food off from them.
Oh.
That works with squirrels too.
Yeah.
And just how important it is to feed them in the winter.
Yeah. Well, and then to have these little evergreens can provide a little mini shelter from feeder to feeder, if you have those nearby.
Oh, yeah. So they just go up in there and hide. All right, so the first one that they come across in this article is the Blues Weeping Colorado Spruce.
Picea pungens, cultivar the blues.
The blues, I like that, the blues.
And, it's an amazing and extremely hardy variety of weeping blue spruce. It's a total showstopper, by the way. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker. So, like, if you're wondering how tall, how wide it gets, tops out at 10 feet tall and about 5 to 10 feet wide, which I would love to see. So I've got 2 blue spruce in my yard. They're gigantic, and they're continually growing. I would love to see a blue spruce get that color, that winter color, year-round color of blue, and have it stop at 5 to 10 feet. Man, that'd be great.
That's probably the biggest problem with blue spruce is they're just their huge size. So having dwarf varieties, it's brilliant. So they're hardy, which I like, to 50 degrees, negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The thing that this article doesn't go over is the soil, water requirements, high temperatures. So it says it'll go till 50 degrees, but can it handle
negative
100 degrees?
Yeah.
Like what we occasionally will get to over 100 here. So elevation is a contributing factor to some of these. So here in the Intermountain West, we're high, hot, and cold. So we're all of those. And then we have this basic soils. We don't have acidic soils. So it doesn't go over those things. So I would think because we natively have Colorado blue spruce, it's actually, isn't it our state? That's so weird.
It is, yeah.
Is that the stupidest thing ever?
Yeah, it's crazy.
We used to have the aspen, but it was such a crap tree.
It's being changed.
It's being changed.
Yeah.
But now it's the Colorado blue spruce is Utah's tree. So stupid. We had so many other trees that we could have picked from.
Yeah, and I mean, we love Colorado, but we do have, we have the largest aspen grove in, as far as I know, in the world, down in Boulder, the Boulder mountain region. Why not just make that? Anyway, yeah.
I wasn't really happy with the aspen because you can't plant it. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last. Yeah, temporarily you can have it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
Neither here nor there. So you have experience with this next one. Why don't you go ahead?
The Hinoki cypress or Chamaecyparis obtusa. A little bit of experience with that. Love the flat palm needles or awls that it has. Just really beautiful. It looks like something you would see in a Japanese garden, right? Gets at least the one that I purchased was like 2 feet wide by 1 foot tall. But they can potentially grow much, much larger than that. But anyway, my experience was planted it. It struggled, and it was in a very sunny location. One was in the sun, one was in the shade, but it just slowly degraded and slowly just died out. The needles basically went brown and they dropped, and it just didn't regrow from there. So cypress is technically hardy to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. That may be true. Maybe this little tree, this little evergreen, could not handle the dry heat. Okay, well-drained soil. It needs well-drained soil.
So if you have sandy soil, up on the benches, it would probably
work better.
Uh-huh. It wouldn't work at my house. I'm right by the lake. It's like clay.
Yeah, and I'm a bit in a swampy spot as well, so maybe that wasn't.
But that's kind of like what every tree likes. Every tree prefers well-drained soil, I would imagine.
You just have to dump on the water so that with sandy soil.
Right, you have to keep on it.
Yeah.
Keep on it.
Yeah. So, it looks to me as if that would be a great variety in a pot, like a dwarf evergreen in a container or pot. And anyway, it's a beauty, eh?
Yeah. So here, next one that has on the list is a Blue Wonder blue spruce. So it's, let's see, it just says it's pretty hardy, negative 40 degrees, great foliage, good for a winter container. Ooh, nice.
So it sounds to me like that's something that people ought to consider, winter containers.
It's an excellent alternative to a dwarf Alberta spruce.
Oh, yeah.
So if you know what that guy is, which it was planted in mass in the 1970s.
70s, yeah.
It's everywhere.
And it gets spider mites like no other.
So that would be kind of cool. You could replace it with that. It says only 3 feet wide at maturity, 6 feet high.
Perfect.
So yeah, very nice.
All right, the next one would be a dwarf balsam fir, Abies balsamea nana. It's the cultivar. It's a squat, a squat rounded fir. So probably would be similar to your Mugo pine. Like shape-wise, anyway. Hardy to negative 40 degrees. That's plenty. When was the last time we hit anywhere near that here in Utah?
Nope.
Not
that I know of.
Yeah.
We'd
be lucky to get into the negatives anymore, right?
That's true. Lucky. We're so lucky. No, I was thinking today too, when it was 35 today. And it felt awesome because it was so freaking cold last week where it was 15 all week. And I was like, dang, something's wrong with me if 35 feels good. I was didn't have a coat on, just had my jacket.
And it was sunny, right? Where you're at?
It was pretty sunny.
Yeah,
it was pretty sunny.
Too.
So yeah, this guy only gets to 6 feet wide after many years of growth. So that's a little dude. Little buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go with the Chalet Swiss
Stone pine.
Mm-hmm. Pinus Sembra Chalet. Here we got, it has a picture. It looks pretty good. Pretty cute.
That reminds me of, looking at that picture, it reminds me of a pine tree that we grew at Red Butte, and it was Dracula. It was a dragon eye pine, and because at the tips of each of the branches was a different color, almost like a yellowish color. So it's a green tree, and then all of a sudden you have these yellow tips that, anyway, really look like a dragon's eye. That's what this reminds me of.
It says it's a